Okay, let's talk belly fat, right? Every single person doesn't want a belly. Let's just be real. We don't want a belly. And a lot of men, 20s, 30s onwards, slowly start to gain a belly. And they might not even notice it until they see a photo of themselves on Facebook, reminding themselves that they used to be shredded. Or you go to a social event, someone snaps a photo and you're like, what's going on there? Is someone stealing a TV? Belly fat can creep up on you. And me personally, I used to not really have a lot of belly fat until I worked a busy job. And I used to eat one too many sausage rolls, and I once went to the changing room to try on a shirt, and I was like, where did this come from? And it was not as fun as you might think. So let's talk about my client Shane. He was a good poster child for the typical belly on a skinny fat physique. He'd actually been trying to lose his belly for quite some time. He played a lot of sports on the weekends with his friends, and every time he'd get into the changing room, he'd get all the banter for his belly. People would take the mick, and obviously it slowly annoyed him, and it was obviously affecting his confidence, especially when it comes to the dating side of things. So needless to say, he wanted to fix it, and he did all the typical things, right? Cut out the food, eat loads of salads, do lots of running, and obviously needless to say, it didn't really get him anywhere. He even worked with a few personal trainers that just got him to count reps on a machine and just chatted to him whilst he was on a treadmill. He quickly learned that really wasn't going to get him anywhere fast. And I actually met Shane from a gym class. I used to do gym classes. He was in the gym class. He would do them 3 times a week. He'd actually really put in a lot of effort, but despite all the cardio, despite trying to cut out all the crap, he just wasn't losing that belly. That's why we call it stubborn belly fat, because it won't shift regardless of what you're doing. Now Shane kind of comes into that skinny fat category where he still wanted to build up some muscle, still wanted to add some muscle to his arms, but he still had this belly. So he's kind of like, well, do I bulk and gain a lot of muscle and make it easier to lose the fat? Or do I keep trying to cut, but I'm not really getting anywhere and risk losing more muscle as well as a bit of the belly? But he still wasn't really sure on what path to take, which meant he was just kind of spinning the wheels. And then 2 to 3 years in, he ultimately got nowhere and got really frustrated and fed up, which is why he reached out to me to see if I can help him out based on the fact I've had other transformations and other clients achieve what he's trying to achieve. So in this video, I want to break down what we did with him specifically so you can copy it and lose your belly, because no one wants a belly. So I'm going to break this down really, really simple. Because he was skinny fat, we need to be quite precise. We didn't want to lose muscle, and we didn't want to do loads of excessive cardio because that wasn't working. So with Shane, what we did is we put together a 3-day workout plan that was focused on resistance training predominantly. So compound lifts like squats, bench and deadlifts, because he was confident doing those because he worked with trainers in the past, so he did get a chance to get a bit of experience. But if you're watching this and you're thinking, well, I'm not confident with that, the machines will be fine. As long as there's some form of resistance and it's balanced throughout the week and you can actually stick to it, you're going to get somewhere with it. And what we did is we tracked those 3 workouts per week. We're using an app so we can see what reps and weight he did. You can write this down on a piece of paper. It's nothing special about an app. It just makes it easier to have it in one place. And then he was able to focus on predominantly getting stronger. Now, cardio is fantastic. It is healthy. It's good. It's going to help you spend calories. It's not a thing to necessarily avoid per se, but it's not something you should do as the primary force of losing body fat. You could argue all you want about that, but the fact of the matter is he was doing cardio like crazy. He was doing football on the weekends. He was doing 3 days a week gym classes and then working with a trainer where he was doing 50% cardio. So essentially 5 days a week of cardio, and he wasn't really getting anywhere, right? He lost a little bit of weight on the scale, but not the body fat. So with him, we focus on strength predominantly to do 2 things. One, to allow his body to need more lean mass because of adaptation. So if he's in the gym getting stronger, his body needs to keep more lean muscle, and he may actually gain muscle as well throughout that process. Not only that, you'll also burn calories repairing from those workouts, recovering from those workouts, which means even when he's sleeping, his body's burning a little bit more calories compared to just doing cardio. And then obviously he still played the football, so he still did a little bit of cardio here and there, the occasional gym class, but we focus predominantly on strength gains. Now, just getting stronger is not going to suddenly help you get shredded and lose the belly. I mean, I'm sure you've seen what powerlifters look like. They've got big old bellies, power bellies, whatever you want to call it. So strength isn't just going to fix it magically. Obviously, that comes to the nutrition. So what we did with Shane was we focused on a calorie deficit, right? Big wow, I can't believe it. Oh, it was so good. We didn't follow any trends. We didn't do keto. We didn't do carnivore. We didn't do low carb. We just had a slight calorie deficit. So his maintenance calories were around 2,500 or so. So we took a 500 calorie deficit off to create a 500 calorie deficit, which times 7 days a week, 3,500, that equates to 1 pound of fat. So he was eating 2,000 calories, which might seem high to you, might seem low to you, depending on your experience, but 2,000 is pretty much a sweet spot for most active men. So we track this every single day using MyFitnessPal. You can do a meal plan if you really want to, but Shane certainly didn't want to follow a meal plan, so he wanted to be flexible with the food, so he can still have a few drinks on the weekend. At the time, he worked in a fast food joint, so he was able to get free fast food, so we just tracked it, made it fit his calories, and that's some good shit around it as well. And then focus on eating good food around that to actually make sure he's hitting his nutritional target. This meant he was able to be flexible, consistent, it fit his schedule, and we also knew what was going on with his numbers. He hit 2,000 calories, he was aiming for about 180 grams of protein to 200, and he lost his belly. He was getting leaner, he was getting stronger, he was getting fitter. He found it a little bit easier compared to what he did in the past because he would immediately just cut out carbs and try and avoid fast food, which isn't necessarily a bad thing to do, but it's not necessarily long-term sustainable. And for some guys, they just can't keep up with that. So it was important that we met Shane where he was at. So this strategy of tracking his calories, making sure it was flexible and still aiming for good quality foods was long-term sustainable for him, which is why he was able to see significant results. Now, if you're watching this and you're thinking, well, what are my calories? What should I do? I do have a free nutritional blueprint in the bio that you can download that'll show you the exact way that I worked out Shane's calories. Now, of course, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You can't just hit a calorie deficit and move more, because eventually you get two things. Your body hits a plateau in the gym and you get metabolic adaptations. So your body's going to become slowly accustomed to the calories that you're hitting, and your workouts are slowly going to stop working and you're just going to hit a wall. Now, you probably heard at the start, I said we tracked everything. We tracked his workouts, we tracked his food. We also tracked his weigh-ins and his progress photos, and we would review them every single week. This just meant that if anything would slow down or stop or we hit a plateau, we had all the information we needed to make a proper adjustment instead of just guessing or getting shiny object syndrome and jump into whatever's trendy. Should we do carnivore? Should I do high rocks? No, we're just going to do what's going to work. The basics work. So we'd review it each week, and eventually we realized that his body was getting a bit of metabolic adaptation, so the food even needed to come down slightly. This is when you might want to add a little bit of extra cardio to shave off the extra calories, so it's kind of like do more, eat more. But in his case, it was mainly just focusing on overloading in the gym. So we changed his workout routine to be a little bit different. We changed the rep scheme. We had a little bit more volume. So he was spending more calories, increasing demand for calories, and getting stronger and gaining a bit of muscle in the gym. So we kept his calories at 2,000, and he was still able to lose body fat and get rid of his belly and build a little bit of muscle. And that's it in a nutshell. It's not complicated. Fat loss is a boring, slow, tedious thing, and it's hard to stick to, especially on your own, because there's a lot of temptations, there's a lot of distractions, and there's a lack of accountability and structure and focus for most guys. So I hope that kind of paints a picture and makes things a little bit simpler for you to follow. Don't get too bombarded by the conflicting information online. You're going to lose body fat if you're eating less food, and if you're eating enough protein and you're training hard enough, you're going to keep muscle. Now, like I said, it is easier said than done. Most men, in my experience, and I've been a coach for over 10 years, they struggle with staying focused, they struggle with accountability, and they always let themselves off. And if you're not winning every single day, you're not going to win the week. And then obviously the weeks make up the months and the years, and that's how you get to the next New Year's going, shit, I need to do something about this. Now, if you want to do something about it, or you need some help, or you just want to chat, you can ask me a question at Elite Transformation Project on Instagram, or you can hit the link below and book a call with me, and we can have a chat and see if I can help you one-to-one. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you are still trying to learn a bit more about how you can fix skinny fat and lose bellies, here's how another one of my clients lost body fat. It's probably quite similar, but give it a watch and see what you can learn. Have a great day.